So in this video, we're just going to be building a magic link server, or otherwise known as a passwordless authentication server, and then we're going to use that server to create a login system for our Chrome extension. And so we're going to do something like this. We're going to click on the extension icon. We're going to enter our email address. The extension is going to ping the magic link server. The magic link server is going to send an email to my email inbox. I go here, I open up that email, I click that link, I get redirected to our page. This is just a ngrok you'll see in the video. I get redirected to our page embeds some cookies. The Chrome extension picks up on those cookies and it allows us to quote unquote log into the Chrome extension. So I should be greeted with a sign out page. I click the sign out button and we're back at the beginning. So if this interests you at all, stick around, let's begin. All right, so let's begin by installing all of the modules we'll need for this magic link server, and then we'll establish some basic routes. Before we even do that, let me show you guys this. So this is called ngrok, and it basically exposes your local address. So my local address would be localhost or 127.0.0.1.40.40. In this case, it's port 3000. It exposes it to the outside world. And so when we send a link to the user in their email, we can't direct them to localhost because Gmail, and I'm going to use my Gmail account, Gmail has no idea what localhost we're talking about. So we have to send an HTTP link. And so all ngrok does, it exposes your localhost to the outside world. And instead of just copying and pasting this constantly, I've just established a constant variable here. So ngrok URL, and we'll be using that throughout the video. So let's get to installing all of the packages and then getting a server up and running. So we're going to need, do we have an init yet? No. So npm init, we'll do -y. We have our package JSON, perfect. So the packages we're going to need: express for the server, we'll need cores for the cores, we'll need body parser to body parse the body of the information coming in. We'll need something called node mailer to send the email. And then we'll need JSON Web Token to establish the web token we're going to use to authenticate the user. So express, cores, body parser, node mailer, JSON Web Token, hit enter. And of course I didn't do the install. Let's go here and just do an I install whatever. There we go. All right, so we have all the packages installed. Let's go to the package JSON. We're going to be using NodeMon for the monitoring of our server. So I'm going to do a start script here. And we'll just do a node of app.js. And of course the main's app.js. Perfect. All right, save this. Let's write the code. So ngrok URL. What else are we going to need? For the JSON Web Token, when we get there, I'll tell you why we need it. We're going to need a secret. So I'll just put secrets equal to, it could be any word you want. Let's say jalapeno. Jalapeno. All right, let's get that server running. So const express require the express module. We'll okay the cores next. So cores equals require cores. Let's do the body parser. Const body parser require body parser. What else did we have? We had the JSON Web Token require JSON Web Token, and we had the node mailer require node mailer. Should be good. So let's use the const app is equal to express constructor, and we'll use, actually before that, let's establish a port. We'll do it up here with all the other constants. So const ports equal to process.env.port, or we're using 3000. And let's do this. Let's go app.use cores. We'll do app.use body parser.json, should be that. Let's establish 3 routes. So the first route's going to be let me do some more spacing here. First route's going to be a post. We're going to send the email to our server. So let's do a / send magic link like that. The request, response, arrow function. There we go. For now, we'll just do a res status of 200 and end. Let's do another route. This will be the route to actually authenticate the user. So we'll do a get, and we'll just say authenticate. Authenticate, there we go. Res status, and we'll do a general 404. Let me clear this console thing. There we go. General 404, so app.use, we'll do a request response next arrow, and we'll do a res.status of 404, and we'll just do an end. Let's do a custom error handler. We're not really going to need it, but I usually do this for my basic setups of the REST servers. So app.use, we need the error object request res next. And all we're going to say is res.status is equal to error.status. If there's no error.status, we'll do a general 500. And we'll send a message, error.message. If there's no message, we'll just say problem. Let's start the server. So const server, a bit more space, is equal to app.listen. We're going to listen on the port. We're going to get a function back. We don't really care about the parameter or the argument. And we'll just say console.log server is up and running on port space. We'll do a server.address. It's a function of the port. And we'll put a period right there. All right, start the server, see what we get. Save, we say nodemon in the directory, and we get a crash. Body parser.json is not a function. Let's try that. Scroll down, and still an error. That's because body parser is not a function. The JSON is the function. There we go. Up and running, port 3000. So we're going to be using a combination of things. We're going to be using the Gmail account, Gmail thing I have open, as well as Postman to check the routes. So right now, let's check the, close this. Let's check the send magic link, expects a post. So we'll do a post. I'll have a link in the description below to where you can get this, this Postman. We use the ngrok URL. For this, we can use localhost or this ngrok. It doesn't really matter, but let's be consistent. So we're going to use the ngrok. So ngrok slash, what was it, send magic underscore link. We should get a status of 2000, or excuse me, 200 sent back. So we send, and there we go. A status of 200 is okay right there. And of course, we sent back nothing. So there's no actual response in the body or anything like that. All right, so we have a basic server up and running. All right, so let's build out the first route here, the send magic link. So we're just going to create a JSON Web Token, and then we're going to do some authentication, and then we're going to go back to the send magic link, and we'll do some sending of the actual email. And so we're going to expect an email coming through the body. So we're going to say if rec.body.email, we'll construct a JSON Web Token, else we're just going to throw an error. So throw new error. I'll just say invalid email address. Don't ever do this in real life, but we're just doing for this video tutorial. If you throw errors like this is going to get sent back to the client. And so the client's going to have a window into what's happening on your back end. And so they can just spam your back end with different email addresses. And if they don't get this message, they know that that email address exists on your server. So you never want to show the front end or the client side a window or the logic in your back end. Don't give them any hints. So we're just going to throw a new error just for this video. And if there's a body email, we'll send the res status 200. All right, so how do we construct this JSON Web Token? We're going to be using JWT, so let me do a const token, and I'll explain something here. So JWT.sign takes an option object, and it takes the secret. Now, I'm not going to go into too much depth about how a JSON Web Token works. That's not the point of the video. The point of the video is building out a server that uses it. But we're going to be doing something called the issuer. We're going to do something called, let me just do this. So just give me the errors. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to need an expiration date. We're going to need a sub. And we're going to need, what do we need? We're going to need a nonce value. All right, issuer can be anything. It's going to be us, something to identify us. So I'm just going to say we're building a magic link server. Usually this is something like, I think, a .com type of thing, but just something to identify us. The expiration date, we're going to do a math.floor of, what are we going to do? Date.now gives us milliseconds, divided by 1,000 to give us seconds. And so from the time this token gets created, we're going to advance it, say 60 times 5, which would give us 5 minutes. So this token's going to expire in 5 minutes. The sub is what I need to talk to you guys about. So for this video, we're not doing any sort of database work, but ideally what you do is you would check. Let me do this. What you do is you check your local database. So it could be MongoDB, it could be your SQL, for a sub. And we're using sub as a unique ID that is stored on your database that is associated with this person's email. So we know if they've logged in before, so we can send back details as well. So you look for check your local database for we'll do this, a sub that matches with the email that came in. Again, we're not going to build a database for this, so just pretend that we pinged a database and we found a sub that is associated with this email. So let's make it up here. Let's do const sub is equal to, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, ABC. There we go. So put that sub in here, sub. And we'll do, can I do this? There we go. All the nonsense is it's a random string of numbers, something nonsensical, so you can't get duplicate JSON Web Tokens. You don't need this, but as much as I can say you need it, you need it. So we have the issuer, we have the expiration date, we have the sub, which is the unique ID associated with this email, and we have the nonce value and the secret. And so when you pass a JSON Web Token over your server, the client getting it can check the secret, that the secret is valid. If the secret doesn't match up, there is something wrong with not exactly the sending of the JSON Web Token, but someone probably tampered with it. Somebody probably changed the information. And so that's what the secret's for. Let me show you this. JSON Web Token IO. So this site is a encode or decode JSON Web Token. And so this is a JSON Web Token. This is what it translates into. And the secret is secret. Say someone tampered with this information, but you kept or they had a different secret, the signing key wouldn't be verified. So it just tells you that someone tampered with the information in the JSON Web Token. So let's do this. Let's send this to my console, and you'll see what it looks like. And then we'll use that site I just showed you to see all of the innards of our JSON Web Token. So we'll save. We'll go to our postman. It expects an email in the body, so we'll do a raw. We'll do, not raw, excuse me, we'll do body, raw right here. Raw, we need JSON. There we go. So it expects an email. We'll just do, I don't know, blah@blah.com. All right, so let's send this guy. Send, we get the secret is not defined. Secret. What are we talking about? Secret, S-E-C-R-E-T, S-E-C. Oh. There we go. Save. Let's go again. We get the 200. We should get the printout of our JSON Web Token here. So we copy this and we paste it into that site I just showed you. And pay attention to the information here. So I take this, Control V. We get Magic Link Server. That's who we are. We get the expiration date. We get the sub, which is their unique ID. We get a nonsensical value, and IAT, we didn't establish that. They established that for us. And the signing key is, of course, invalid because the secret is not secret FSD. It is jalapeno, like that. And there we go, verified. So let's go back here, close this. So now that we have the token, let's send it over to my email. We're going to be doing that with Node Mailer. Actually, before we do that, I told you guys we would skip to the authentication and then we'd go back to the magic link and send the email. So let's go to the authenticate. What's it going to expect? Well, we're going to send the JSON Web Token as you do through the URL through a query parameter token is equal to all that stuff. So we'll say if there's a token, so rec.query.token, then we'll proceed. If there's no token, we'll just throw a new error. So throw new error. I just say no token. And again, do not send error messages like this to the client, to the front end. So if there is a token, we're going to get the token from the query. We'll say const tokens equal to rec.query.token. And then we're going to verify the token in a try catch. So the method we're going to be using is jwt.verify. It takes the token and it takes the secret. And it just does what we did here, where it takes the token, it tests it against the secret. If it's valid, it gets verified. If it's invalid, it throws an error. So we need to wrap this guy in a try catch. So try, and I'll do a catch here. Error. There we go. And if it catches an error, we'll just do a throw new error, and we'll do error.message. Again, do not send these to the client side. So we'll say const decoded token is equal to this stuff. All right. And here again, we're not going to be using an actual database. We're just going to simulate it with comments. So what we're going to say is, so once we get the actual token verified, what we're going to do is use that sub in the, we're going to use this sub in the token to ping our database. So we're going to use sub to, let's say, get user information from database. So things like their email, we'll do this, const user info is equal to things like their email. So we'll say, and again, we're just making this stuff up. Email is t@yeah.com. Maybe we got their name, their actual name. We'll say Johnny. Maybe we got something like their occupation. Occupation, we'll do programmer. There we go. So let's just say we got that from the actual database. And next comes a very important concept within this Magic Link server, which is like a session ID. So something unique to the user who's logging in. And again, we'd probably send this to the database. So we'd do something like this. We'd create a session ID. Session ID. We create it in the program here. And then we associate it with, let's do this. Let's go session ID. And associated with the sub of the user. And this is just to maintain that the user is logged into our system. And so if there's a session ID, they're logged in. If there's no session ID, they're logged out. And I don't know if we're going to do a log out route. We'll see when we get to the end. Just understand we need a session ID. So when the user logs in through the browser, we know where they are in the system, if they're valid or not. So user, let's just create one here. Const session ID is equal to, I don't know, 456ZXY. There we go. And to tell the browser that this user is authorized and they're starting a new session, we'll send it back in the cookies of the browser or for the browser. So the res.cookie, we'll send the session ID, we'll do one word, to the session ID. And we'll set another cookie that gives us, or gives the browser, who's associated with this session ID. So that would be the sub. So we'll do sub like that. And let's do this just to maintain some sort of consistency. Let's say we had sub in there as well. And the sub would be, this one actually comes from the token. So we can go decoded token.sub. This guy would be userinfo.sub. So we're sending these two cookies to the browser. So the browser, when it needs to look up something on the back end for the user who's logged in, it can use their sub. And if they want to log out, it can use a combination of the sub and their session ID if it needs to. So res.cookies. And then after we authenticate, we're just going to send them to our welcome route, which we need to write right after this. So we'll do a res.redirect to ngrok URL plus, did I do a slash up there? I didn't, so we'll do plus slash welcome. And all the welcome is going to do is going to display a welcome page. We could have easily done that right here with a res.status.send whatever, and we put some HTML in here. I just don't want them landing on this route here, authenticate. It's going to show up in the browser in their URL, and showing them a welcome message is not something I want to do. So it's going to redirect to welcome. We'll write that right here. We'll do an app.get of a welcome. We'll do a request. We'll do a response. We'll do an arrow function. Let me scroll up. And all we're going to do is res.status 200, and we'll send some HTML. Let's do h1 welcome to our Chrome extension h1. Let's do this. Delete that, delete that, delete that, delete that, and delete that. Don't need that. There we go. h1 welcome to our Chrome extension. We'll do a br. We'll do this to 2. So you are now logged in. You are now logged in. That's an h2. We'll do another br. Then we'll say h3. Click on the extension icon to begin. So click on the extension icon to begin. There we go. Of course, that's an h3. So we're just going to send them back some generic HTML like that. And when we set the cookies here, even though we're not setting cookies here, because we set it here, these cookies will send with this res status send stuff. Which reminds me, if there's any sort of error, we want to clear the cookies before we send the error message. So we're just going to do a res.clear cookie, and we'll clear the sub, and we'll clear the session ID. Session, one word. There we go. So what we have so far is this. They click on the link. That link's going to direct to this route. This route's going to look for an email address. It's going to faux or pretend to look for their sub associated with their email. We're going to get a sub. We're going to construct a web token. We're about to send it to their email. When we send it to their email and they click that link will redirect to the authenticate. It'll get the token from the authenticate URL, which I'll fix, right? I'll fix here when we do it. Anyways, we get the token, we decode the token, we get the information. Again, we're faking looking up the database information. We create a session ID unique to that user. We set the cookies, and then we redirect to the welcome URI. And all the welcome URI just says is welcome to our Chrome extension. You are now logged in. Let me put a period there. Click on the extension icon too. There should be no E there. Begin. Okay, so let's send this guy to my email. To do that, we're doing the authenticate. No, send magic link right down here. So we're going to send the token to my email using the Google SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Basically, we're sending to my email using Google's server. So we're going to need a transporter. So const transporter is equal to node mailer.create transport. It's going to be an object. And we're going to need 4 things. We need the host, which is just going to be smtp.google.com. We're going to need the port that they let us use, which is going to be 465. We're going to do a secure of true, and then we're going to pass in auth. Now the auth is, because we're using Google servers, you have to have a Google account to send or use their server to send emails. So the user is going to be, and I put it in a config file right here. I'm not going to show you the config file because it has my password for my Google account there. So the user is just going to be, what's it going to be? Do I have it here? No, I need to import it. So we'll do this. We'll do const config is equal to require of /config folder /config.js. So now we can use the config. User is just going to be config.user, and the pass is going to just be config.pass. There we go. So our transporter, we now need to set the options of the email. So let options, and we don't really need a let. We'll do const options, another object. It's going to be 2, and we'll send it to my one of my Google accounts. So we're just going to say @gmail.com, a subject of here is your magic link, and then we'll do a body of HTML, and we'll just do a link. So href is equal to, it's going to be our ngrok proxy. We're going to send it to the authenticate URI. So this plus, it's going to be /authenticate. Actually, we won't need that. We'll do here authenticate, and we'll send it through the URL. So query parameters or query string token is equal to, and just going to be the token that we created right up here. So token, there we go. And we need to close off the href, close off that. We'll just say click me, close off that. Let me see if I got that right. ngrok URL /authenticate, perfect. Query token, expects token, click me, perfect. All right, let's send that email. So we'll do a transporter.send mail. We'll send with the options. We'll get something, I think it's an error, and we'll just do info. And we'll say if there is an error, we'll do a console.log of error sending mail. And why is it giving me this stuff? There should be an arrow function. There we go. And I need more than this there. We'll do an else. Console.log of mail sent successfully. There we go. All right, that looks good. Let's run this and see if we send the email to my email address. And so we'll use the postman to do that. This email shouldn't be blah blah, should be my actual email. gmail.com. We are now posting to send magic link. Perfect. All right, let's send. What do we get back? We get back a 200. Let's check my email. And there's nothing here. Why is that? Let's check this. What are we doing wrong here? Transporter nail host. Oh, the host is not Google. It's gmail.com. And user config. Is it config? Config, I think I put it under account, not user. So let's save. Let's go back, try that again. So we send. We get a response of 200, which is okay. We go back to my email. There it is. Here's your magic link. We click this. And this should direct me to the authenticate, and the authenticate should redirect me to the welcome page. So I click this, and secret is not defined. Secret is not defined. That would be right here. All right, so this whole video I misspelled secret. Let's spell it correctly. S-E-C-R-E. There's no C here. There we go. So that means we need to change it here as well. Dyslexia or something. Secret's there. Let me just do a search for it. Secret. 3 times I've used it. All right, let's check this again. Close this. Let's go. We don't need this anymore. Let me close that. Let's do a send. 200, okay. Let's go to my email. Should have it fresh. There we go. I should get redirected to the welcome page. And there we go. Welcome to our Chrome extension. You are now logged in. Click on the extension icon to begin. Let's do an inspection here. We'll check that the cookies sent. So we'll do an application. We'll check the cookies. There we go. We get the sub and the session ID. Okay, so this is the manifest JSON of the Chrome extension. Let's fill it out quickly, and then I'll take you through the scripts we're using, and I'll show you the pages we're using. So the name, we're just going to say, what is this? A magic link Chrome extension. For description, we'll say testing magic link Chrome extension. Version's good, manifest is good, icons are good, background JS, perfect. Options we're not using, but I'll just keep it there. Browser actions we're not using. We're actually going to be popping up a new window for the user. Permissions, we're going to need the cookies, and we're going to need to be able to access the domain of the magic link server. So that would be the ngrok stuff. So let me go to app.js. Let me copy this, paste that here. And all we want is the HTTP part. Put in double quotes. And proper spacing. There we go. And we need a slash and a star right here. And that's HTTP. We could put another entry like this and just do HTTPS, but since our server doesn't run, or we're not using HTTPS, we really don't need that. So those are the only permissions we're going to need. So let me save this. Let me close the server file. And before I forget, let me just put into, this is the background script. There's nothing there, but we'll get there. Let me do this before I forget. Let users signed in to keep track of their sign-in status false. And we're going to be using that ngrok URL on the back end. So let me do a const ngrok. Grok URL is equal to, there we go. Put single quotes on that guy. We won't need the slash. I'll do that manually. You signed in, let me put that above. All right, so this is the background script. We're going to write an if conditional tree in here later. This is the pop-in script. All this stuff, do not concern yourself with. It's completely unnecessary. It just makes the page animate. You don't need this to get the functionality of a Chrome extension that uses Magic Link authentication running. All we're concerned with is this bracket right here. If the email is valid, they send an email in, then we'll send a message to background asking for an email with Magic Link. This is the sign out script. Again, all this stuff is not needed. Don't worry about it. Just makes the button shrink and grow. You'll see when we actually use it. We're just concerned with when they click the button. So we're just going to say when they click the button, send message to background asking for a log out. So let me show you these two pages, the sign in and the sign out. It's the sign in page. They're going to enter their email, blah, blah, blah. And then we click the sign in. It's going to show us a message saying, go check your email for the Magic Link. And then we'll proceed from there. And this is the sign out page. They click that and it just signs them out of the browser. So let me close these two guys. All right. So let's start by creating that if conditional structure on the back end. So we're going to need three things. We're going to need an if request.message is equal to, and we'll say send mail. Then we're going to fetch the send mail link. Fetch send, what did we call it in the back end? app.js, we called it the send magic link route. Fetch send magic link route. Let me put that in quotes. There we go. We're also going to need else if the request.message is equal to log out. What we're going to do is clear the session cookies. Else if the request.message is equal to log in, then we're going to log the user in. Log the user in. And this is a really simple if conditional bracket right here, so I'm going to fill it out now. Logging in is different from sending the mail. Sending the mail doesn't mean you're actually logged into our Chrome extension. So when we get the actual Magic Link, we click on it, we get passed back to the, you're going to see when we do it, we get passed back to the pop-in script. Let me delete that P. We get passed back to this script. It's going to send a login message, and to log into the Chrome extension, all we need to do is this. We're going to do user signed in is equal to true. We're going to send a response of. Everything's going to expect a success or a fail string on the front end. All right, message to background asking for Magic Link, and that looks good for the basic skeleton of the logic flow or the workflow. So let's tackle the first part of this. Let's do the send mail route. So the pop-in script, we'll need that. Let me close the files we're not using for now. Close that, close that. We'll need the app for 2 seconds. All right, so when we get the successful email, we're going to send a message to the background, chrome.runtime.send message. Two things. We're going to have a message of, send mail, or send email, send mail, send mail. And we're going to need the payload. The payload is just going to be the email, this guy right here that we captured from the form. So that's going to be a payload of email. We're going to get a function back with a response, and we're expecting some sort of string, a success or a fail string. So if the request is equal to, excuse me, not the request, response is equal to success. Then we're just going to do a few things. So I've copied and pasted this code. All this code does is it animates the page and it tells the user to check their email. So this is not really needed for the logic flow of this Chrome extension. It's just a nice way to tell the user what to do. So all we're doing is we're taking the opacity down to 0 for the form. We're bringing the background color to, I think it's a red. And then we're taking the opacity up to 1 for the message. The message just says check your email. So that's what we're going to do when we have a success response from sending the mail. Let's go to the back end and actually deal with this payload email. Let me close the app.js. So within the send mail, what we're going to do is the fetch of the ngrok URL. We're going to need a plus. We're going to need a slash. I should have closed that route. It should be send underscore magic underscore link. So send underscore magic underscore link, and the back end is expecting, so we'll do a method, we'll be explicit about post. It's expecting us to put the email in the body of the request object. So let's do this. Let's do headers. Let's do content type. So content type. You don't really need to do this. It'll automatically try and figure out what content you're setting or sending, but let's just be explicit application / JSON. And in the body, we'll put the actual thing. So json.stringify. We expect an email, and we're sending the request.payload. Payload. There we go. This is a promise, so we'll get a .then. Res, we'll do something here in a second. Let me just write the catch. .catch. Error. There we go. Just console.log the error. Console.log of the error, not group. ERR, there we go. All right, so if res.status, we'll do, how should we do this? Should we do a not? Yeah, we'll do a not. Is not 200, then we'll just do a return of actually not a return. We're in this this message, this communication line between the back end and the front end. So we're going to return a true to keep the message line open. And if the return status is not 200, we're not going to return. We are going to use the send response object here to send a response to the front end, do that pop-in script. So send response of a fail. If not, we know we've successfully gotten a 200. I think it was a 200. It sends back a 200, right? 200, yeah. So we've successfully gotten back 200 from the magic link server. And so we're just going to say a send response of success. That'll push it to the front end, and the front end will show them a message saying go to your email. So let's test this out before we move on in the code. Save that. Pop-in script looks good. Let me close the app.js. Let's go back here, refresh the extension. And it shouldn't work because we didn't click the code for the on-click. Let's do that very quickly. So we're going to need a chrome.browser action.onClicked.add listener, a function. We don't really care about the argument. What we're going to say in here is if there is users not signed in, we're going to create a page. Else if, let's just be explicit. Else if user is signed in, we'll create another page. So we're going to say, what is it, chrome.windows.create. The URL is going to be the, /popup-sign-in.html. We'll do a width of, I think it was 300. We'll do a height of 600. We'll do a focus of true, and that should be focused. That's good. Let me just copy this. And we'll paste that here. If they're signed in, we're just going to show them the sign out page. There we go. Let me semicolon here. All right, so let's test this guy out. Save, back, refresh, click the icon. There we go. Enter the email. Click the sign in. Thank you. Please check your email. Let's close this down. Let's check the email. The magic link, there we go. And we're greeted to the welcome page. All right, so when we get the welcome page, we're going to check, this is just an old thing. We go to the application and we check the cookies, and the cookies are there. That's perfect. All right, let's go back in and handle actually, because when you click right now, it just gives us this this page. We should be getting the sign out page. We actually have to sign the person in or log the person into the Chrome extension. So we'll do that here. So when we log in, we send a response of success, and that will be in the pop-in script. All right, so when the user is not logged in, they're always going to get this pop-in script. What we want this pop-in script to do is whenever we click the browser, or the icon, we want this script to check whether or not the cookies, the session cookies, are on our PC. If they are, we're going to show them the sign out page. If they're not, then they haven't actually gotten the email, they haven't clicked. So we're going to do something like this. We're going to say window.add event listener. We're going to look for a load. So after everything's done loading, we don't really need this stuff, the argument here. We're going to go through the cookies. We're going to look for the cookies. I shouldn't have closed it so we can use it. Let's do this. We're going to look for these two cookies. If these two cookies are here, that means they actually clicked, they got the link in their email, they clicked it, they got redirected here, the cookies got set in the domain of our browser, and they're good to go. So we can do that with a function called chrome.cookies.getAll, and we're going to specify a domain. That domain is going to be the ngrok URL. Let me just copy it from here. And it's just going to be the domain. It's not going to be the protocol. So we don't need the HTTPS. We just need this bit right here. So copy that. Go back down here. Search by domain. Perfect. We'll get a function with all of the cookies from that domain. Let me just show you what that domain is. So this is domain here. If you ever wonder what to look up, that's the domain of the cookies. So we get all the cookies. We need to map. We don't need to, but let me show you, instead of just talking about it, like cookies, let me show you. We just want the names of the cookies, but it gives us all of the details about the cookies. Close this. Let's refresh the extension. Let's go here. There we go. Go to view page source. Not source, excuse me. Let's go to inspect. There we go. Console. So it gives us an array of all the cookies. And it gives us all this information. We're just looking for the name, the session ID, and the sub. So what we're going to do is we're just going to map through it. We're just going to say, we're going to do, let's say, let names and const names is equal to cookies.map cookie, and just return the cookie.name. Let's console.log that, see if that worked. Console.log of the names. Close this, refresh the extension, click, give me the inspect, give me the console, array of 2, and there you go, session ID and sub. Close that. And so now that we got the names, we're just going to do a quick check. We're going to say if, let's say names.includes in the array session ID, and, not in there, excuse me, and names.includes, we'll do, what was the sub? Then we're going to send that message to the backend, that very simple tree if conditional branch right here of the login. And when the login is set to true right here, this user sign set to true, anytime we press this button, we're now going to be greeted with the sign out page instead of the sign in page. So chrome.runtime.send message, and that was just a simple message of login. We'll get a function response of success. And if the the response is equal to success, then we're just going to do a window.location.replace with the sign out page. So popup-sign-out.html. We'll save. Let's try it. So refresh. Let's go back here. It's not going to sign me out. And that's because we have the cookies still on the browser. I have to delete that here. And then we'll go for the coding the actual button. We'll do application, cookies. It's not going to show me right here. application, cookies. Let's clear these cookies. All right, let's try this again. Go back here, refresh the extension, click, enter the email address, sign in. Thank you. Please check your email. Thank you. Let's go back to my email. Inbox, magic link, click me. Welcome to our Chrome extension. You're now logged in. Click on the extension icon to begin. If everything worked perfectly, we should get the sign out page when I click this. There we go. And of course, when I click the sign out, nothing happens because we have to code for it. Let me close these down. And before I do that, let me clear the cookies manually. Application, clear, close this, close this. All right, so that's good for the sign in script. Let's move over to the sign out script. Send a message for logging out. So chrome.runtime.send message, and the message will be, what's it expecting? Log out. Message is log out. We'll get a function with a response, and it's going to be, we'll just write it now. So if the response is equal to success, SUCCESS, we'll do the same thing, but the different page. So window.location.replace with the sign in page. So pop-up-sign-in.html. All right, it's good for the sign out page. We can close that. Let's code this. All right, so when we want to log out, all we have to do is clear the cookies. When we clear the cookies, and that page, the pop-in script looks for the cookies, it's not going to find them. So it's going to return well, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to give us the next page. It's just going to have the sign in page. All right, so let's do this. Let's keep the message line open to return true. We're going to get the cookies, and we're going to clear the cookies. So chrome.cookies. We should get all. Why am I repeating code? Let's just do this. Copy this guy right here. Yeah, can we put a semicolon there? Okay. Go back here. We'll paste here. All right, so we have the cookies. We get all from the domain. We're going to map if session includes sub. Should we check for that? Yeah, it doesn't really matter. We won't do a sending message. We're just going to clear the cookies. And so we'll loop through the cookies. So cookies.for each cookie. And then we'll just use the method chrome.cookies.remove. And it's going to take two parameters. It's going to take the URL, and it's going to take the name of the cookie. The name is just going to be cookie.name. And the URL is going to be the ngrok URL. So ngrok URL, and it's the complete the complete URL with the HTTP, not simply the domain. So that should work. If names, we did a check. We didn't really need to do that, but whatever. Cookies for each, Chrome cookies remove, URL name. All right, and we'll do something for each. Perfect. We'll do a send response here of success, and also we'll flip the user signed in status to false. So let's test this out. So refresh the extension, click, enter the email, click sign in. Thank you. Please check your email. Close this window. Go back to my email inbox. Get the link. Click me. You're now signed in. So we should get the log, or the sign out window. We click the sign out. We should get the sign in, the email page. And we click, and we're getting something weird. Is there some sort of error? There we go. What's going on? Unchecked runtime last, no host version for cookies. That's the URL though, no? Oh, HTTPS. All right, so apparently you do need the HTTPS if you're deleting cookies from the browser's point of view. So we need to add that to the manifest. So even though we're doing development on our side, so we're not really interacting with an HTTPS localhost, we still need it in the manifest for cleaning up cookies through the browser. So just copy paste that line and just add an S right here. So save this. Let's try again. Close that. Clear the error. Let's go back. Refresh. Should get the sign out page. Give me the sign in page. Perfect. Let's test it one more time. Sign in. Close this. Let me close this guy as well. Back to my inbox. Click the magic link. Logged in, I should get the sign out page. I click the sign out, I should get the email sign in page. There we go. And so that's it. That's a very basic, magic link, or sometimes called a passwordless authentication system for your Chrome extension. We built the server from scratch, and then we implemented that with a Chrome extension. This would absolutely work for anything else, like a web page, a website, doesn't really matter. We just happened to do it with a Chrome extension. So leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and I will see you guys in the next one.